I did have a question here. With the travel that you have, a lot of people, myself included, would like to create a physical location uh,
Mhm.
called Hexico. Like we'd like to buy some land and create a, probably it would be mostly a tourist destination for other Hexicans that would
Mhm.
just love to come hang out with Hexicans in one geographic location. Out of the places that you visited, what place do you think would lend itself best to a get up or meet up for Hexicans if someone was going to invest money and actually buy property and create a place for Hexicans to meet?
That's a very interesting one. Okay, I think I'm slightly biased towards anything Asia. I spent the most of my traveling and living abroad years in Asia. Um, and, it's all of these countries here. They're probably like all of the countries in the world. They have the pros and cons. Thailand, for example, is a sort of a country where that would be relatively easy to do. Well, you can't actually buy land in Thailand, but there are other ways of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Culture is kind of pleasant. People are nice and they're smiling and they try to
Sorry,
help you.
which one was that?
Say again, sorry.
Did you say culturist is nice?
Culture is nice.
Oh,
Is
the culture
it's
is
easy.
nice. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's easy to live to
Mm-hmm.
live in. It's easy to get along with local people on a basic level, at least, unless you speak fluent Thai, then you can go better than that. It's a stable country. It's generally a very safe country. What I find a lot in Asia, what I really like, is that safety, that sense of safety, which you will not have in the US. I didn't have it when I was there traveling. Also, you will not have it in Latin America. Also, to some degree, you will not have it in Europe, especially in bigger cities. And here, I don't really know how it works and why, but it seems like you could live in a city like Bangkok, and it's very unlikely something really bad will happen to you ever, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just not what you hear.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, generally biased towards Asia. If it's a holidays place, probably we're talking about some islands. So they do have some nice islands here, a lot of them, in fact, nice beaches, great weather, almost all year round. Um, so this kind of factors, I would consider that Thailand would be a good bet. Then if you go to Cambodia, it also wouldn't be a bad decision, but it's also much less developed country. So your
Mm-hmm.
access to uh, any conveniences, let's call it like this, dramatically declines in comparison to Thailand. It's not very bad. You can still get a lot of things because they obviously import a lot of stuff from Thailand, from Singapore, from Vietnam, and then you can still buy most of the things. But you could see the difference definitely, and also the same climate, also nice people. Um, so these two countries would work. The third country around here, I'd say maybe Indonesia. Some places in Indonesia.
Is
Oh,
Bali considered in Indonesia?
yes, it's considered Indonesia. So it's just the whole Indonesia is pretty much well, almost 100% Muslim country, but Bali is Hindu, so it's more relaxed and you can get away with many more people, many more things in terms of, I don't know, drinking alcohol, having wild parties, and so on. Bali is where it's all happening. Simply because the culture is different there. If you try to do the same thing in other places of Indonesia, then it's not like it's not happening, but it's just tough, right? So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
have more of a, let's call it, party place, I would definitely not go to any other island in Indonesia, right? Because then you
Mm-hmm.
will have to hide a little bit. You will have to work on that. Alcohol will be very expensive because of some religious tax and so on. So yeah,
Sure.
Bali will do, other places will not. Um, and yeah, now the second destination as a whole, I would say something in Latin America. Some people prefer this kind of vibes, right? Many people in Latin America understand more English than Asians in generally in my part of the world. You could also, maybe you speak Spanish or you could learn it, so then it's the whole different experience, right? If you don't speak a word of Spanish and you try to learn it from today, if you really commit to this, in 1 year you can probably be fairly fluent. Try that with a Thai language or Cambodian language, and I wish you good luck. I mean, unless you are a linguist or a musician who just hears all these different intonations and it's easy for you, then okay. But for a standard normal guy, you probably need to spend 5 to 10 years learning Thai versus, let's say, a year learning Spanish. So there are advantages of Latin America which Asia doesn't offer, right? Because it's easier. It's also culturally closer and easier. It doesn't actually matter if you're a religious person from US or you're not religious, but also Latin America is closer culturally in a way, right? Because we all grew up, or most of us grew up, I mean, in the US and in Europe, in some version of a Christian culture, and so we also have some versions of Christian culture in Latin America, right? So it's sort of like, it's very different in some ways, but there is a lot of similarities. But in the same time, if you try to compare your upbringing to how people grow up in Thailand, let's say, then it's completely different. It's the different rules of the game, different culture, different beliefs. And in the beginning, it's all fascinating, exotic, and interesting. But after a while, it might get a little bit boring and difficult and alienating, because you just stop understanding how they think and why they do things they do, why they say things they say. So it's a choice, it's a personal choice, I would say, for future Hexico. What do we want more, right? Do we want to make it exotic and crazy? Then it's Asia. Or do we want to make it more familiar and predictable, which might be Latin America? Where exactly? I would go for something which has good safety record in Latin America, at least more or less, right? So there are places which are safer than the others for sure, right? So probably
That's really
some islands. Yeah, go on.
an interesting. I wouldn't have thought of safety first. I usually think of weather first myself, just because I've spent so much time my working life in the cold, that I have no desire to spend more time in the snow than I have to. But Doug here in the comments says he wants his piece of Hexico to have snow skiing. So that's interesting. I actually see Hexico almost like an embassy. You know how every country has embassies around the world, and it's considered a part of that country. I think Hexico would be awesome if you had a couple places in the States that were, Hexico or Hex owned, where the Hexicans would meet, and then Asia, there'd always be almost like an embassy or a safe place for a Hexican to go and know that they've got family, so to speak, or some crypto family there that has their back. So that's something I hope that we get to experience and achieve it during this next bull wave in 24-25. Personally, let's go with